Do you know what separates the average business owner from those that are best in class? It's not just great products or service. It's not innovative ideas. It's not even killer marketing. It is the team. That's right, the people you hire. Today, I'm going to reveal the exact steps that I've used to build best-in-class teams, as well as drive extreme value to your company. But here's the kicker. Hiring the wrong person, man, it could cost you years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you hire the right people, it could catapult your business's success greatly. Today, we're going to break the hiring process down to 3 segments. What needs to be done before you post the job, what you do during the interview process, and then finally, what you need to do as a business owner in the first 90 days of that new hire coming into your company. You may be a seasoned business person who's hired hundreds of people, or you may be just starting out. This process is foolproof. It'll help you rapidly scale your company and while hiring best-in-class people that will drive the value of your company. So if you consistently hire the wrong people, or you're just tired of hiring for skill and you want to build a dynamic team, let's dive in.
Today, I want to unpack a framework. This framework works in small businesses, it works in large businesses. And what it does, it gives you a system that you can utilize as you perhaps hire your first employee or perhaps your 100th employee. It's just a system that helps speed it up and allow some clarity around scaling a business. The first phase that you have whenever you're trying to hire a dynamic team member, and by the way, I'm talking about W-2 today. This also works for 1099s if you're hiring to hire subcontractors. So for example, I have employees, but I also have a litany of subcontractors. When I had my own RIA, I had 12 employees, but I also had a dozen or so subcontractors. So the framework works for both. And as soon as you build the framework out for your business or help your clients build it out for their business, you actually create freedom and allows you to work on something else within your company. So you've got the pre-work phase. The very first thing that you have to do, and I'm going to say this every time, you know, from this point forward, you're going to hear me say this, you have to have a crystal clear defined vision, mission, and values. Where are you taking your company? Why are you taking your company there? And what are the guiding principles that you're operating from? You actually need to write them down. When we're working on our university program, we spend a week writing these out, and then we spend 2 weeks clarifying these and putting them to the test. Now, you say, Justin, I understand a vision, mission, and values. Yes, everybody talks about it. Look, whenever I had my own practice before I started my RIA, when I was running a broker-dealer business, I got so tired of business coaches that I were hiring trying to get me to write down another vision. Because to me, it was like they never done anything in business before. They maybe ran a division at some big Fortune 500 company, and all they knew how to do is talk about vision, mission, values. But whenever I stepped into a value role, I found out that vision, mission, and values are applicable to everything. So for example, in the hiring process, if I'm trying to attract an A player wants to be led and work with A players. They don't want to work with a subpar business. And so if you're trying to grow your business, your firm, you're helping your clients grow their practices or their businesses, then if they are unable to articulate to you, or if you as a business owner are unable to articulate your vision, mission, values to your coach, then candidly, you're not going to attract the A players. First thing is you've got to be crystal clear on where you're going, how you're going to get there, and what are the guiding principles of this journey. I remember when I wrote mine down for the first time and shared them with the team, it actually put like a light bulb on the team's mind on what we were moving toward. Second step, this is all before we even start publicizing that we're trying to hire somebody, you want to outline your org chart structure. So perhaps today you're a solopreneur. Okay, take where you see this vision of yours. Tell me what your RIA or what your business is going to look like in 5 years, and then design me a visual. If you're by yourself today, or maybe you have 1 or 2 employees, what is that company going to look like in terms of size of employees in 5 years? It's a trajectory. So one of the things I often teach business owners, no matter how many clients I have, is we'll draw on a glass board or draw on a whiteboard. Here's your org chart today. A lot of conversations go into that. A lot of thoughts go into that. But what does your company look like in 5 years? Now, in order to calculate that, you have to think about your revenue. You have to think about your company growth. You have to think about your expenses. You have to think about so much in order to do this one assignment. But before you ever go out and write a job description, you want to have crystal clear, where's my company today? Where's it going? Where is this employee fit today within this structure, and where could they move toward or move into over the next 5 years? You're going to see how this all fits together here and when we get into phase 2. Then number 3 is write a detailed job description. Now, In an infancy, perhaps you're a solopreneur, maybe you've got 1 or 2 employees. In your infancy, we know that if I'm drawing an org chart out, I'm probably sitting in that CEO position as the business owner. But when I had my RIA, I was also sitting in the financial advisory seat. And in the infant days, I was also dealing with the trading seat. And I was also dealing with the chief compliance officer seat. And you find yourself sitting in multiple seats in the infancy of your business. That's fine. As you scale your business, you may end up hiring another financial advisor. So I ended up hiring another CFP. I ended up hiring business value advisors. I ended up hiring a stock traders for us or portfolio traders. I ended up hiring marketing team members. Where in the beginning, my name was in multiple seats. I now knew that who am I hiring and where can they fit in? What that does for us in a small business is it allows the person to say, look, I realize I'm going to step into this role and I may have to wear 3 or 4 different hats, but it's not going to be long term. This owner has a vision and a pathway to move me from 3 or 4 positions into 1 key positions, or move me from 3 or 4 positions into perhaps a management position. So for example, Miss Hillary, who's here with us today, when we hired her, Miss April hired her, it was, hey, we want you in this position and you're going to learn all these downlines, but we're going to have you instantly start managing the people underneath you. And we're going to show you where we're going to be in 5 years within our organization, Financially Simple. By having that vision, now you can get crystal clear on what the job description is that you're ultimately hiring this person for. So perhaps you're hiring an associate advisor or a value growth advisor to come alongside your business. Perhaps you're hiring a chief compliance officer or a marketing director. Get crystal clear with your vision, your mission, your values, your org chart, where you're at today, where you want to be. Now, where specifically does this job description, or this particular position fit today? And on that job description, one of the things you're also looking for is you're showing them in that job description what your vision, mission, values are. One of our university coaching classes, a 12-week intensive, and when we got through the people component, which is a week-long intensive around how do you hire the right people in the right seats, or they have the right job descriptions, this individual discovered that his primary person was not in the right seat. And when we approached it, this primary person was not the right fit long-term. So we redrafted a new job description to replace this individual, and we crafted into there, hey, here's the vision of our company, here's the mission, here's the values we guide by, and here's the specifics that we need of this individual in this job description. And before we ever post the job description out there in the ethos, we want to talk about the step-by-steps. So you're going to see here the various steps that we would use. Now, in each one of these steps, and we're going to go over in detail here today, in each one of these steps, we're going to have some automation that takes place. You'll see that as number 2. I do not want to do anything more than once. So if I'm posting a job out there for somebody, I want to make sure that it's all automated. The email responses are already drafted and set up. The questionnaire, the interview process questions, everything is already automated. You want to automate everything, place it into your CRM, build it once, train your team, get away from it. That's the only way that you're going to be able to rapidly scale your business or have your clients scale their business. I remember a client of ours who had a service industry that worked in the fast food industry, and we had them do an automation series for hiring people. This individual would spend literally 5-6 hours of their time, which was very expensive time as the CEO, interviewing every employee. And yet the employees only worked out about half the time. And it was a waste of this individual's time. We automated this in a matter of about 3 hours and then gave it to the director of ops. And then that business scaled and they were able to get a higher quality individual to step into this particular position. So before we ever post the job description out there in the ethos, we want to set up the framework to which this individual is going to walk through and know it, test it, automate it, build all the responses, build all the processes before we ever post it. Now, here's a trick. Here's the way that I have found and that I teach business owners to do. You're not going to post your job description out there on a monster.com or an indeed.com. There's too much noise. It's going to cost you too much. Right now, you know 200 people. Statistically proven, each of us know 200 people that we could call today. We can go on social media and we can say, hey, I need help. Those individuals are 200 people. You have 40,000 people within your ethos right now who can land you that position if you're crystal clear on what you're trying to achieve, what the position is for, what their advancement is. You can use just social media. So the way, candidly, I hired everybody, and the way I teach business owners to hire people is grab your cell phone out, turn it around. You see me do this oftentimes on my social media. Instagram, I just did it a while ago. Shoot a video of you being authentically raw. Stutter, mess up, Doesn't matter. It's not about you. It's about trying to be authentic to that audience and saying, look, I'm looking for somebody out here. I'm looking for somebody who wants to work as a content director for me. This is a full-time position. The compensation is right within market standards. I need somebody. If you know somebody who fits this, you know my values. You know what I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to grow. I'll say it today. I'm trying to grow a financial consulting business to help financial advisors and business owners rapidly grow the value of their company. If you know somebody who wants to help business owners grow this, hey, drop me a DM. That's literally as simple as you can make it. And because people know you, have 200 people who know you, they're going to share this with their friends. Somebody out there in that ethos is going to see your job posting. And now you've got a system set up. So that moves us into this next phase, the interviewing process. This is phase 2. So now we posted this job out there. We have in our job description that, hey, DM me. Once they DM you, it's a social media, then you're going to ask them to submit a resume to the following, to an email address. Just a simple pre-structured, hey, I'd like for you to submit your resume to this email address. Short and sweet to the point. Don't go any further than that. Allow them to submit a resume. What my experience has been is about 3/4 of the people who say, hey, I'm interested in the job, they'll submit a resume, but then they're going to start asking questions. Okay? Don't answer the questions. Get a resume. That's it. Once you look at the resume, you're trying to decide if their personality profile or this particular resume fits this job description that you're looking for. We know how to do that. And honestly, I believe that God gives us an intuition that we can lean into here, okay? So we can look at it and we say, man, based on this criteria, I think this person is the right fit for the job. So for example, when I hired Hillary, just because she's here and it's not to pick on her, when I hired Hillary, I knew what I needed for this role. And I knew I needed somebody who was structured, who had a teacher's heart. So I wanted to hire a teacher. I literally targeted teachers. She was a teacher. And so I knew what I wanted to fit this role because I had done all the pre-work. So step number 1 is have them DM you, send them, have your quick responses. Love to chat with you. Drop me a resume here, and we'll see if you're qualified for us to have that conversation. Simple as that. About 3/4 will do that. About 1/4 will never do that. They want to ask questions right there on the DM. You don't want that for most of the roles in an RIA because you want people who can follow instructions. And candidly, in most businesses, you don't want people to try to answer quick snippets on a social media platform. Don't even go there. Step number 1 is initial resume. Step number 2. So I've looked at Hillary's resume and I'm like, man, I like this. I'm still not going to have a conversation with her. I'm going to direct her to go online and find a profile, personality profile, fill it out and send me the results. I still haven't had a conversation with her. I lose about another 1/4 of the applicants at this point. They self-elect out. I'm finding out who seriously wants a job and who doesn't want a job. And so they're going to go out. So I like DISC or Myers-Briggs or 16 personalities. Use whichever one you like. Use whichever one that you're most acquainted with. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for their ability to follow my instructions. I'm looking for somebody, especially in the financial advisory spaces or in law firms or in accounting firms, somebody who has to follow specific instructions. A salesperson, by the way, is not going to do this. A different process for a salesperson, but we're talking about how to build a team here. So if you're going to try to hire an advisor or a salesperson out there, you got to modify this slightly and do a little bit more of a sales approach up front. But for majority of your employees, you can use this approach. So Hillary comes in, she gives me a resume. I'm like, great. Would you go out and fill this personality profile and send me the results? Again, I lose about 1/4. So now about half the people who are interested have now moved to this point. After I get this DISC personality, I'm going to see if it makes sense. And then, and only then, I'm going to say, hey, Hillary, I love what I see here. Do we have time to hop on a quick call? That's what I'm saying. A very basic quick call. I'm not going to do a deep dive right now. And now they've done 3 things for me in a row. We're going to schedule a call. And all I'm looking for is, can they communicate and what is their culture? That's it. Again, I'm trying to decide, do I allow them on my team? So it's more of I'm trying to see, is there an alignment on what we're moving toward? Now, in this call, what's going to happen is that candidate is going to ask a lot of questions. And you're going to say, great, let me write this down. I want to get back to you on those questions. They're all valid questions. But right now I'm trying to get through this litany of people who really want this job because we're paying best in class and this is an unbelievable firm to work for, whatever. But in our next conversation, we'll dive into this. What you're looking for as you go through this particular right here is communication skills, initial cultural fit, and eagerness. I think it was, and I wasn't planning on saying this, but I think it was like somebody out there said hungry, humble, smart. 3 different ways. And I forget who said that off the top of my head. It's one of my authors I like to read behind. So you're looking for an employee who is hungry. Yes, I want to come work for you. I want to learn as much as you can teach me. Who's humble. I don't know everything, and is smart. They have the emotional EQ and intelligence EQ to work towards your goal. Now, for my RIA business, I never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever hired anybody who was within the industry. I refused to. That may shock you. The reason why I didn't is because I didn't want to have to untrain bad habits. I wanted to train them around my systems and my structure in order for me to move them. I did bring in one financial advisor. I brought in two financial advisors. One is a 30-year veteran just to do trading, and one who had not yet passed the CFP, was in the insurance world, and said, "Hey, look, I want you over here in the CFP world where we're going to actually run financial plans and not sell insurance." So I did bring in two people like that, but it was very crystal clear on what we were doing. So now we're going to have an in-depth interview. Okay. An in-depth interview, there's typically an assessment. Depending on the position you're trying to hire for, ChatGPT can help you with this. If you need help throughout our program, we can work through this a little bit, maybe put some resources down there, Hillary, for this. But I used an agenda that I was always looking at. Tell me about your family life. Tell me about your faith. Tell me about your friends. Tell me about your health habits. Tell me about what aggravates you. And what I want to do in this interview is I want to do those bullet points there, but I want to really focus in on challenging them. I want to really focus in on challenging that employee. Now, some of us can be a little bit more combative, especially with my personality style. So I usually am forthright with them, like, look, I'm an intense guy. Here's where we're going. You've seen our vision. You've seen our mission. I need somebody who can work with me. So here's what it's like on a Monday morning. Can you handle this? So I want to challenge them because I want to see if they're the right team. Now, at this point, when I teach business owners, like, dude, this is ridiculous. This is hard. I'm like, yep, it's hard because hiring the right team member is hard. That's what happens with business owners. We don't do the work on the front side. We get a bad team member, we mess our culture up, and we end up having to fire them or they quit within 90 days. So do the work on the front side, save yourself some heartache, and move forward. On the in-depth interview, if it's a key position, like a director of ops position, or somebody that you're going to hand your clients off to, like a replacement advisor or junior advisor, what I did is my wife and I would go to dinner with them and their significant other or spouse. And we'd have a fellowship, and then I would let my wife interview them. I learned this from Henry Ford. The Rockefellers did this back in times past, where you get them in a casual environment, you allow people to talk. So I think that's a phase 2 if you're hiring a key person in your company. And then number 5 here, we're still in this interview phase, is you've got to set this new hire up for success. So now you've said, okay, I want to hire this individual. What is next? You may have an interview dinner if it's a key person. In the financial world, we have compliance manuals we have to deal with. We have employment agreements that you may have to deal with. All those you give during this before start date. You get them moving that direction. Now, day 1 is the most important day. That is where you'll make or break this hire, day 1. It's been said that the first 90 days that an employee comes to us, we see their best. First 90 days. That's why we typically do a probationary period for a 90-day period of time. Day 1 is when that employee decides if we're the right business for them. Day 1. So as a business owner, if you're hiring somebody, day 1 has to be perfect. If it's not, mark it off. That you're going to have a bad relationship and you're going to have to curb that. And you can win it, but it's going to be harder to get that employee back to where you want them to be. So before you ever bring them to the office, set up your day 1. Specifically what is going to be done. Write an agenda out for day 1 and make sure everybody in your team is aligned on day 1. All right, so that brings us to the 90-day period of time. Once you hire this individual, I am a firm believer, especially in small business, that if you are the owner of your company, it is your job and your job alone to make sure that that employee succeeds, which means that over the next 90 days, you're going to spend more time than you ever will again working with that employee. My team is here, so whenever I say things, they can validate it. Whenever a team member joins, one of the things I get in the habit of is on Monday mornings, I'll walk in. I didn't do it yesterday. I failed on something, but on most Mondays I walk in. We had a harder start to Monday yesterday, so it was just something I messed up on, my fault. But I walk in and I sit down with each of them and say, hey, what do you need help from me with this week in order for you to be successful? That's literally a conversation I have with every employee every morning, every Monday morning. When we had 12 employees on Monday, we have a team meeting and I would go around, what do you need from me as the owner for you to be successful this week? As you hire a new team member, that new team member needs to hear your vision, your mission, where they're at in the org chart, where they're going to move forward, what their reporting lines are, what their expectations are in this 90-day time period, how you're going to measure their success. That is your role as the owner in this first 90 days. You're going to have a probationary period. What I like to say is I hire two people two different ways. I'll hire somebody and pay them below what the job ultimately is going to pay, because let's say they don't know anything about it, and I need 90 days to train them. So I'll say, look, I'm going to start you off at, pick a number, $25 an hour, but I really think you should be at $35 an hour. So over this 90-day period, my job is to teach you and make sure you're ready to step into that role. And if you are at 90 days, we'll give you a pay raise. Not a bad way to go. I've used that with half my team. On the other side, I'll say, hey, look, I'm hiring you for this position. I'm going to go ahead and start you off at an above market rate because I think what I'm seeing is worth that to you. My job is to make sure you're successful. And if you're not successful within 90 days, I failed. Can we agree on that? Notice what I'm saying in my vernacular. I am the owner. I take the responsibility. You're here. I'm leading you. I want to make sure you're successful. That's literally the conversations that I deal with this 90-day time period. We also talk about openly the values that we work around. So my company values are written down. You've heard me speak about them on 3 of my podcasts and my books and everything. So my team knows that they're going to hear me say, turn the turtle. They know they're going to hear that. Why? Because in that 90-day period, I have 90 days for that new team member to drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. Have 90 days for them to see the vision, catch the vision, and be able to articulate the vision to my customer, to the marketplace, to their friends, to other employees in the company, to my vendors, to everybody. So during the 90-day period, if I see some things that I need, then I'll hire a coach to come in and work alongside those employees. I'll provide some training. Today, we're going through some training with some of our team members on an area that we're a little weak in right now because we need it, and I don't know how to teach it. So during that 90-day time period, I'm going to put some training in place. I believe everything's going to sit around your servant leadership. That in and of itself is going to solidify you through the transition. Keep in mind what I said at the beginning. We're building a strong team that can go through a transition. Because when you get in the transition, you're flying blind. When you get in a transition, your team is having faith in you because everything else is rocky. So you're trying to, in the early days, in that first 90-day period, place the team in a position where they can trust you. One of the things I believe in, and my team sees this, is I actually show them the data points of our company. I've done this since day one. I show them our financials. I don't show them the stuff that could cause conflict, like how much people get paid and all that stuff, but I show them top line revenue. I show them the KPIs that I measure. I show them if I'm tracking EBOC or EBITDA or NOI or gross profit or margin, if I'm tracking my customer average, my customer lifetime value, whatever the KPI is that I care about, my team is seeing this. Then whenever I built it out to where I had divisions, so I had my marketing division, my advisory division, my value consulting division, all those, each one of them had KPIs. And so they knew what I was looking at. Because I believe that transparency allows me as an owner to trust my team. I believe that transparency will also solidify relationships. And now when we go through that hard time of growth, rapid growth, whenever you double your company's revenue in 12 months' time, it is chaotic. It is frustrating. It is hard. Whenever we had that time period, my team knew they could trust me and I had their backs. So I believe in the first 90 days, this is where you're building trust and transparencies. In order for me to maintain that team member after that 90-day period, it now comes to a position where I need to make sure that they are positioned for themselves to succeed. So you can do it a number of different ways. One of the things that I do is I believe in a small business, when I say small, under 20 employees, that you can set up a benevolent dictatorship. You can track something, your team makes an award, give an extra $5,000 at Christmas time. So what, it costs you $20,000 extra. Who cares? Your team is there alongside you. Maybe it's where you have an unlimited time off schedule. I don't have a time off. I mean, if somebody wants to take time off, take it off. I don't care. Because I don't want you in the office whenever you really want me to do something else. I'm going to take time off. Go, have fun. Maybe that's your philosophy. But you've got to create some performance-based rewards. So in our company, we actually had a compensation model. We pay in best-in-class compensation as a base. And then we had a compensation pool that if the department did well, they got extra money. And if the team as a whole did well, they all shared in this performance-based bonus. I realized that what I just went through is detailed. I also realized that whenever you look at this, it's like, dude, I just want to hire a receptionist. Build the process, trust the process, put a methodology behind the process, and you can bring in best-in-class advisors or best-in-class employees. Let me take it a step further. Whenever I finally sold my company, in my own, and I've had now 7 exits. My company I built, 49 months, transact. Very good transaction. No earn out, no clawbacks, none of that nonsense. A very good, best-in-class value. I looked at the company and I said, okay, I need to recast my financials. And I have 2 team members over here that just aren't going to fit in this new company. Let's take care of them. Treat them the best I could possibly treat them. They felt good about the relationship. I helped them find another job because these are people I care about. They've been with me in the trenches. We got them a new job, actually making a little bit more money because of connections. And each of us have connections we can do. I've had my core team that went into this new company, and I provided them some incentive bonus, some handcuffs in place to help them transition to this new company. One of the things I was promised them is that you'll make more money working with me than you ever made before. That was a promise I gave each of them, and each of them did. Each of them made more money. I actually lowered my compensation down because I was in hyper build value. And then when I sold the company, my compensation skyrocketed, so did theirs. So I want to position my team as we go through this transition in the future, where we're going to exit our company or sell it best in class. Whenever that finally happens, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, I want my team to be motivated, knowing they can trust me. And whenever I get into those conversation points with a potential buyer, I want to be positioned that I can say, look, you want this individual on your team, and here's why. Here's whenever they stood by my side whenever others didn't. Let me explain how the loyalty of this person. You want to be able to do that in this process. Whenever you're looking to build and hire team members, build a process that you only have to do once as the owner. Build a process that you can hand off to somebody in the future. Build a process that is automated. Build a process that's difficult. Why? A players want to work with A players. A players want to jump through the hoops to be part of a dynamic team. If you build a process that anybody and everybody can get to your door, anybody and everybody can just walk in, you're going to have an interview process, you're going to have the statistics, which is going to be very, very dismal on those individuals who will stay with you, much less go with you through the hard times. If you think it's hard to hire good team members, think about how difficult it is when you don't.